We're back, everybody. This is Monday of the Weiner Wellness Week. This is March Madness. Yeah, it's madness. I know everybody else calls it something else, but it's March Madness. We love this Wellness Week. We bring in the best of the best. Everybody's excited. Things are kicking off here Monday morning, and we are going to kick off the entire day with our first guest, Michelle Lepore. And Michelle, I met you a couple of years ago, I think,
Yeah.
uh, at
Yeah.
one of the professional training events with Nutritional Frontiers.
Yep.
And I remember we had lots of great discussions, and then we went to dinner, and we had even better ones at dinner.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
We cured everybody in the world that night, I think, or we
Yes,
at least
right.
have the blueprint, and
That's right.
mentally too, right? Not just
Right,
physically.
right, right.
So, Michelle, I'm going to let you give us a brief rundown of your background, who
Sure.
you are, what you're doing now, and then we'll get into this very, very pertinent topic of Lyme
Sounds good.
disease. Okay?
Sounds good. Well, I'm Michelle Lepore. I'm a wellness consultant at Everything Natural Under the Sun in Altoona. I graduated from Penn State actually with a degree in human development and family studies back in 1998. So that was what I initially went for. And I opened a daycare center and preschool that I owned and operated for 11 years. And I loved that. But now I've changed my path a little because honestly, Lyme disease is what changed my path. And while at the time I got very sick and I didn't know what was going on with me, I really grew from this experience and it pushed me in a whole nother direction with my career and my passion and what I want to do to help people. So I went on to I had met Dr. Tracy Straub, and she's who the first naturopath that had helped me in my Lyme journey. And she taught me a lot and inspired me to take classes and to go in this direction. Then she introduced me to Brenda, Dr. Brenda Montrella. So then I started to work for her. So I have a lot of great mentors, and I've just been just growing in this field and really enjoying sharing my knowledge and helping people with what I learned, what I went through, because I feel like sometimes that's the best way to help people is to be able to say what you've been through and you've experienced it and you can recognize it in people a lot. So it's much easier to see what they're going through and lead them in the right direction.
Let's get right into it. You were you initially diagnosed with Lyme, or was it something that
No.
you had to come all the way
Yeah,
around
it came
about?
so later. That's why I keep saying how tricky it is to diagnose
Hmm.
because I back in the 90s, I mean late 90s, I was on a trip, I got bit by something. I didn't see what bit me, but the next morning I had a rash. And now it wasn't even a bullseye rash. It was just a rash, and it kept getting a little bit bigger and it was getting like a little painful, but it was not itchy. So I knew it wasn't a mosquito bite. And I we're
Hmm.
on a trip, so I just went and got some ointment, at the the store. And when we got back in town, I said, this isn't right. So I went to the doctor, and they said, this is a bite. We don't really know what kind of bite, but I think you should go see a dermatologist. So I went to see the dermatologist, and they said, looks like a bite. I'm not really sure what kind of bite, but I think it's a spider bite. So they gave me different ointment,
This
and
sounds
they
like
pretty
a sitcom
yeah,
already.
that's
I
what I
mean,
mean. It was like, and I'm thinking, how do you not know? But I thought, okay, whatever. I had all these ointments, but there was, and I didn't really think much of it. But honestly, about a month later, because with Lyme disease, and that's what happens, you get sick after the fact. I mean, it can be anywhere from 7 to 30 days after the bite. So a lot of people in
mhm,
their head aren't even connecting the two things anymore. And if they
mhm,
go to a doctor and they're like, oh, it's no big deal, they just think, oh, I must have the flu or a virus now.
mhm,
They don't connect the two things because it's so far away. So that's what
mhm.
happened. I started getting flu-like symptoms probably almost 20 to 30 days after the bite. I never thought of Lyme disease. It wasn't something on my radar at the time. I was a college student, I just wasn't really thinking about it. And it just seemed like over the years, I just kept going back to the doctors for different things. Like it would present in me as constant sinus infections,
Hmm.
constant strep throat, I was constantly getting fevers, and I had fatigue and a lot of muscle ache that was starting to come up, and neck pain and headaches and things like that, that just over the years, stomach issues. And I'd go to doctors and say, I don't know what's going on. I was diagnosed with so many different things over the years. It was, first fibromyalgia. Then they said, oh, you have irritable bowel syndrome. No, you have chronic fatigue syndrome. And then when it really got to a head, I mean, this was in the 90s. So, I mean, all these years go by, and in 2015, I got really, really sick. I was under a
Mhm.
lot of stress that year, which I do believe probably, really brought things to a head. But I got so sick in the way that I thought I was like dying or something. I mean, I felt like I was
Mhm.
95 years old. I couldn't get out of bed, and I'm usually a really energetic, person, but I was like not able to get out of bed. I couldn't lift my leg to get in the bathtub. My vision was going blurry. I was losing my vision in one of my eyes. And it's for me, my left side is always the worst. Like that's the side I got bit on too, which is kind of interesting, but that's where all my
Mhm.
pain mostly lies. But I was getting terrible migraines, terrible neck pain, joint pain, neuropathy in my hands. So I couldn't even button my shirt anymore. It was like one of those things that everything started to seem like it was declining. I couldn't get
Mm.
up out of a seated position, and I was forgetting things. My memory was going, and my mood
Wow.
and feeling
It's like
depressed. It
you
was just,
aged 50
yeah.
years in a short amount of time, right?
Right. It really affects so many parts of your body. So what ended up happening was I went to another doctor, and he just kept telling me, he was like, "You're getting older. I think you're going through menopause." I
Oh,
was like,
I love it.
and
You're
you hear this
getting
from a
older.
man and you get real irritated as a woman. I'm like, "Well, I know I'm getting older, but I don't think I should feel older than my mom. Like my mom's going to Zumba classes and I'm like in bed all day. Like this isn't normal for me." So I begged him, like I'm crying and I'm begging him, "Please just can you do more blood work?" So he did blood work, a lot of it. And the only thing that came back at that point was my C-reactive protein was really, really sky high, which shows inflammation.
Mhm.
So he said, there's something to this though. I think you might have an autoimmune condition. So I'm going to actually just refer you out to a rheumatologist. Okay. So at least I thought I'm getting somewhere. That's good. So 2 months later, when I could get in with the rheumatologist, he sees me, and he was actually the guy who found the Lyme disease. So he's like one of my heroes. I was so happy to finally get a diagnosis. At that point, I didn't care
Right.
what it was. I just wanted to know what was happening, so I didn't think I was crazy. But he did a bunch of tests and said a couple weeks later, "You have Lyme disease." And I said, "What?" And I was thinking like, "How?" And then he said, "Do you ever think you got bit by anything?" And I said, "Oh my gosh, like in the 90s," and I didn't know what it was,
Wow.
but I
How
guess
many
it wasn't.
years have gone by, Michelle, now at this point
It
since
was
the bite?
well, 2025.
Wow.
Yeah,
Since
I
you
got
had the bite. And
right.
that's when you got the diagnosis
Yeah,
25 years later.
yes. Isn't that
Unbelievable.
insane? Yeah. So I've known that I had Lyme for now 7 or 8 years.
Mhm.
So that I got it under control now. I still have some flares here and there.
Mhm.
I've learned with Lyme, you have to keep yourself in balance a lot. There's different triggers that can bring it up. But I'm thankful because he had put me on antibiotics. That was the initial course of treatment. It did help me about 30%. And then
Yeah.
I still felt stuck. So, I mean, at that point, I bought every book, did all the research. I was reading everything I could about natural health and Lyme disease. That's what brought me to Tracy. And she really helped me to take the right things and learn some things, and she was like encouraging me with teaching me, and I got into some Lyme support groups, and I kept learning and taking classes. And that's really, I mean, I found I had such a passion for this because people would start saying like, "Wow, you know a lot about this." So I thought, well, you have to know a lot because nobody else is helping me. Like I was so stuck. You almost have to be your own advocate, and you'll find that people that have Lyme, they know more than doctors about Lyme disease. I mean, like they know everything
Yeah.
about Lyme disease because
Yes.
doctors are very, it's like one of those things that's not a priority, and I don't think they're very well trained in Lyme for whatever reason.
No. Well, let's pause there for a second
Right.
because I want to recap this journey of
Yeah.
yours
Yeah.
quickly because one of the things that struck out to me is how you got all of these diagnoses, right?
Right.
Oh, you have fibromyalgia. Oh, you have chronic fatigue. Oh, you're
Right.
getting old. Well, these are all in the category of what are called idiopathic diagnosis. And that
Right.
means they don't know where or how it came about. This is
Right.
an actual medical term that
Yep.
just astounds me. They
Yes.
accept it, right? This is an
Right.
accepted medical term,
Uh-huh.
idiopathic. Don't know the cause.
Right.
But they sure have developed treatments. And it just amazes me that you can have a treatment for a disease state or an illness or a condition when you didn't know what caused it.
Exactly.
I, I
Exactly.
don't I don't get that. But you got all of these, and then your life, I mean, your quality of life was just declining, declining,
Yeah.
declining. So
Right.
when you finally got a diagnosis that was real, Lyme
Right.
disease, right? Then the course of action started to take place, but then it stalled. And here's the problem. As you
Right.
said, you got the antibiotics and it was okay for a little bit, and then it stalled, it
Right.
plateaued.
Right.
But I think that's where everybody gets stuck.
I
More
think you're
people get
right.
stuck there, right?
Yeah.
And they
Yes.
don't get to someone like Dr. Tracy. They don't get this
Ex-
intervention that's necessary.
Exactly.
Okay,
Exactly.
so now let's go into that part of it. When you finally were able to connect with Dr.
Right.
Tracy, what did she do? How did your life change?
So it changed in a lot of ways because I mean, there's a lot of different things that have to do with Lyme. I mean, the reason I think people aren't getting diagnosed is you're exactly right. They're not finding the right diagnosis for a very long time, and once they do, sometimes it's so far into their bodies because what happens with Lyme is it's a corkscrew, a spirochete bacteria. It drills into your organs, into your muscles, into your nerves. They hide. It builds biofilms. It's real smart and tricky because when it first bites you, a tick, it 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 emits these little, this yucky, all these stuff into your bloodstream, all this bacteria, these
Yeah.
parasites, viruses, anything, that it has in its guts. It goes in, but it numbs the site of the bite, so you don't even really feel the tick on you. So that's where a lot of people don't realize they've been bite. They're so small, people don't realize it. And then you get, if you don't get a rash, because only 30% of people get a bullseye rash. Okay, so and that's kind of crazy
Hmm.
because that's the only thing that the CDC
Right.
recognizes as being
Uh-huh.
automatic Lyme,
Uh-huh.
you know? And so
Yep.
what they'll do is they'll go to the doctor and the doctor says, "Well, I don't know." And then they'll say, "Well, I'll do a Lyme test." And they do a blood test, but it's an antibody test. So if you get it done too early, there's no way it's ever going to show up as a positive in your blood. It takes way too long to build antibodies. It's not ready at that
Mhm.
point. And then once the Lyme's in your bloodstream, it doesn't stay there. It travels and it's right away, it gets into those organs and it wants to evade your immune system. It hides, it encapsulates. So you can live with Lyme for a long time and you can be in balance. Like a lot of people have a strong enough immune system that you can live comfortably with it hidden there and you don't even know it until years later when something goes out of balance in your body, a trauma, stress, you haven't slept well, or you get an illness or another virus, or vaccinations or something that really lowers that immune system, and then out that comes and you're hit like a Mack truck and you have no idea what's going on you know
You know, I it's just striking me as awfully strange that everything you're describing it almost sounds exactly like what's happening with some of these
Exactly.
vaccine adverse effect reports. Some people have them early, some have them later.
Right.
Let's think about this little tick numbs the area where it bites you, then it injects something. Boy, that sure
It-
sounds like a shot to me. I don't
doesn't
know.
it? And let me tell
Yeah,
you something else, Joe, that I think is, I don't know if you know this information, but do you know where the name Lyme came from for Lyme disease?
I think it's from the town where it was first
Yeah.
discovered, right?
Right, in Lyme, Connecticut. So back in the 70s, there's a town called Lyme, Connecticut, and
Yeah.
in the 70s, they were finding all these kids, these little children were coming down with some Lyme flu, they called it, because of named after the town they were in. They didn't know what it was. They didn't have any reason to know what it was. So they couldn't figure out what was causing this, and eventually they found out these kids were playing outside. Lyme, Connecticut is across the there's like a body of water there, like a lake, from Plum Island, believe it or not. That's pretty coincidental.
Mm.
And they were getting bit by they think that these ticks were coming off the deer that were grazing by the water, and that these children were getting these bites. But interestingly enough, I mean, I've read tons of books. There's a couple really good ones about the theory, and some whistleblowers that worked in Plum Island saying that they at that time were doing a lot of biological warfare testing, and infecting ticks and mosquitoes with different viruses, you know?
There's a
So,
big surprise.
yeah, you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, when
I
you start to
do.
dig, it starts to seem very convenient why doctors aren't trained in Lyme. And I think
Yeah.
that might have been on purpose, possibly, but, we just have to move
Yeah,
forward.
I like the way you think, Michelle. Everything is on purpose. Okay.
Yeah,
There is no coincidence.
right, right.
Everything is on purpose. And why all of a sudden would these ticks be so poisonous when they never were before in nature?
Exactly. And they're getting more and more. I mean,
Yeah,
it used to be just a small problem, and that's why a lot of people didn't think about it. But now 300,000 people a year are getting diagnosed with Lyme. So I know that that means there's double or triple that actually
sure.
have it, because the
That's right.
diagnosis rate is so low, you know? And that's crazy. That's like an epidemic there, but they never talk about that's something that
No,
doesn't get talked about a lot, you know?
right. Right.
Yeah.
It's so true. I mean, this is something that I mean, a lot of people, you know, they're suffering, and to me, it sounds a lot like, and probably on a larger scale, on a more difficult scale, when you have the difference between an allergy and a food sensitivity.
Right.
Because when you have an allergy and a full blown anaphylactic response, right? Everybody
Right.
knows. But
Yes.
when you have sensitivities, food sensitivities, they work at a smaller level, at a cellular level, and they trigger other things. And then things start to cascade. And then all of a
Right.
sudden, bang, you have an incident about something, and nobody can trace it back
Yep.
far enough to the cause, except for people, that do extensive
Right.
muscle testing, like Jeff Nisnik does here,
Yeah.
and like
Oh,
Tracy
yeah.
does. There's
He's
all kinds
amazing.
of things. Yeah,
Right.
and that's how you find these things. But
Yeah.
allopathic medicine hasn't a clue how to
Right.
trace it back or find it.
Right.
So
Right.
these people are they're suffering and they're not being helped. But this is
Right.
why we're doing these types of
That's why we're
workshops.
doing this. That's what we want to do. Yes, and spread awareness, because I know even with myself seeing clients at Everything Natural, because I do the Zyto scans, I do the muscle response testing, and
Yep.
when somebody comes to see me, when they start telling me all these unrelated, symptoms that they're having, like,
Hmm.
I'm so tired and my joints hurt, and I have gut issues. Right away I say, do you ever think that you might have got bit by a tick? And most of them will say, oh yeah, 7 or 8 years ago I was bit by a tick, but they told me I was negative for Lyme. I already had a Lyme test, so I don't have Lyme. Like, that's what they'll say. And I'll say, well, I'm just here to tell you that that's not always the case. So I'm gonna, I can do a little bit of testing with the muscle testing to see if I think, it's coming up for Lyme. I can do a special scan on the Zyto to see if it's showing up there, and check for some bacteria and check for Lyme.
Oh,
And
let's go into more detail there. What
yeah,
exactly do you do with Zyto to help with your diagnosis?
so when I do a normal appointment with somebody, I'll do the regular Zyto scan at first to see what's going on,
Sure.
But when I'm talking to them, and after, if I think there's a different diagnosis that might be something that is a little deeper, something more
Mhm.
chronic and underlying that it's not showing on the scan, you can go in and do additional scans. So I you can like check for Lyme disease, you can pop that in there. You can check for MTHFR, which Dr. Tracy's, amazing at that
Yes.
topic. I've checked for people with different kinds of bacteria, like you can look like E. coli, or, you know, any other things, strep, things like that. You can do a viral
Hmm.
scan to check for viruses, but there's
Hmm.
there's so many other things you can kind of dig. And then if those things come up, you can try to see what's going to put those all back in balance for them through the Zyto, which really is a time saver. It even helps because then you can just muscle response test later, and based on what you're finding there, just to check some things or check some supplements, but you pretty
Right.
much have most of your information from the Zyto.
Does the Zyto actually, is that a built in? Is that something you have to add? Is that part of the basic
No,
Zyto, or
no,
you add it?
we have the Elite, I believe,
Uh-huh.
at the store, and it's built into there. So you just have to know,
Okay.
which how to get to them, and which that's a
Okay.
whole training, because well, I really dug deep into keep getting more trainings with the Zyto because they're always changing things and adding things, which is really cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. All right. So let's continue. So
Yeah.
now let's continue with your story before we get into help how
Oh,
we can apply that to others. Go ahead.
right. Right. So what Tracy ended up finding on me, and this tends to be the same with a lot of other people that have Lyme. I was very at the time I went to see her, I was so my nervous system, it affects your nervous system, your central nervous system a lot. My central
Hmm.
nervous system was very affected, so I was having all the brain, trouble and everything like that, having trouble focusing, even having trouble remembering what I was going to say, things like that too. So you have to kind of go towards the symptoms, but have like a protocol that you will like a blanket protocol to start. You have to do a couple things and then add them in per symptom. I would say because different people have different symptoms. Sometimes some are worse than others. But what
Hmm.
Tracy found was that I was very vitamin deficient. And I think that had to go back to my gut at that point. But I wasn't absorbing a lot of my minerals or vitamins, no matter how healthy I had been eating. And so a lot of people with Lyme disease are very deficient in magnesium,
Hmm.
and in the B vitamins, and also there's a couple other minerals like trace minerals that are very, very essential, that we miss, when we're just taking a multivitamin. And a lot of people take those multivitamins like, I went to Walmart and I got that Centrum, and that's not, you're not absorbing or breaking that down at all. And people who don't know, so she dealt first with some of my nutritional deficiencies like that, to try to build me up a little bit, and it had affected the thyroid and the adrenal glands in myself a lot. So she helped me with the thyroid complete. I was taking the Adrenamax from Nutritional Frontiers. they
Okay.
they got me, in a few weeks I was feeling so much more energy just from that and the minerals and vitamins I was taking, because she didn't want to start too fast, you know. And then
Mhm.
once she started to get me built up a little bit more, once I was treating those underlying things, lowering the inflammation, I was taking X Flame, or the Inflame, from Nutritional Frontiers. And then I did that. Then I kind of started on a little bit of like a detox after a month or so on this program, and I got a little better and I changed my diet, ate anti-inflammatory foods, cut out, wheat, gluten, dairy, sugar, because they're big triggers, for inflammation. So those were things we made sure we did. And, drinking lots of water, especially lemon water, is so good, to try to flush out those toxins. So
Yeah.
I changed my diet and started on her first, the first part of the protocol there. And then after about a month, I came back, and then we started attacking things. We're going to start to kill off some of that bacteria, because I was a little stronger then. My body was a little
Okay.
more ready for that.
Yep. Yep.
So then we used different products like, the Candy Kill was amazing, for me.
Hmm.
I used the Candy Kill, and I used the Immune Tincture from Nutritional Frontiers. And those things, they have special things in there that's going to help with bacteria and parasites, really, and some
Mhm.
antiviral things as well. Like all in one, they boost your immune system at the same time while they're helping the gut and getting some of that stuff out of you. So I did that, and I was able to detox better by using things like the proline greens, to keep the liver going, and the lymphatic tincture to keep the lymph moving. So I was able to, get that stuff moving and get it out of me. And then I even use some of the Natican, because you
Okay.
sometimes need to break those biofilms that those
Mhm.
ticks encapsulate in. So I would take that, and then when you took the Candy Kill or the Microgon, or the Immune Tincture, it was getting directly in, breaking those biofilms down so they could get to the Lyme bacteria and start to kill that off. So,
Mhm.
that takes a
That
lot of
okay,
steps.
I gotta stop you there because that is such a vital protocol and
Right.
that process that you just explained. We wanna go back and explain that again because
Yes.
I think a lot of people miss a piece of that puzzle and
Right.
don't get the results. Okay,
Right.
so
Right. Right.
let's go back and show how we, with this protocol, and this is what functional nutrition does. It
Yeah.
stimulates the body's natural functionality. So
Right.
that's
Right.
what you did with this. You weren't treating a symptom, you were
Right.
stimulating a function. So let's go back
Yes.
and do that one more time.
Okay. So I first started, and I'll start at the beginning because I think the diet is very important. So if you're going to treat something like Lyme or really anything, I think we have to even check our pH. That's the first thing I did was check my pH and try to
Okay.
see where my pH was on the scale. If you're very acidic, it's going to be really hard to get rid of these
Mhm.
bacteria because they thrive in that environment. So we almost need to try to be a little bit of a more perfect pH if we can strive to get there, like 6.4, a little more on the alkaline side, so that they can't live very well in that environment. Lyme don't do not live very well in an environment that is more alkaline or more oxygenated. So that's what we want to do is, keep
Yep.
that environment
Just
going.
like every other foreign invader, right?
Exactly. Right.
Doesn't matter.
So, you do your pH, you do some alkalizing foods, do the 80-20 diet where you're, more alkalizing foods, lemon water and things that are good and alkalizing instead of the more acidic foods on the chart, the coffee and the meats for a while, just 80% of the time you want to I'm drinking my coffee too. But when you're treating, you really got to be careful.
Yeah,
So,
I know.
80% of the time you do these good foods and 20% of the time you got to live. So you can do a little more of the acidic stuff, but it just needed to be a balance. A lot of gut healing diet, anti-inflammatory diet, avoiding the gluten, the dairy, the sugar, and adding in like things like bone broth, and fresh garlic a lot, stuff like that. That's really gonna to help the gut and stimulate the immune system to work a little better too. So I did that first with the diet, was making sure I was drinking all my water. Water's hydration super important, and a lot of lemon water because that really helped me to flush things. And I started off with taking, the
Mhm.
Mag Complete 300. I was taking that. I was adding in a multivitamin and mineral. I took the Women's Complete from Nutritional Frontiers, or there's the Frontier Multi. Even the Frontier Minerals, I had taken that as well because you just really need some vitamins and minerals. You're very deficient at that point. You're very tired and sick. And then I made sure I added in a D3 or the Super K2 Plus, one of the two of those, because you need more D3, and a lot of people that have Lyme are very deficient in D3 as well. So that's how we started, was with kind of trying to rebuild my that a little
Mhm.
bit and make me less fragile to this protocol we were going to do later.
Mhm.
And I also was addressing the thyroid issues with
Mhm.
the thyroid complete, and my
Mhm.
adrenal issues with the adrenamax, which gave me
Okay.
like so much energy. I didn't know what I was like, oh, this is amazing. I already, in 2 weeks into this program, I felt like
Yeah.
hundreds of times better, so I was super excited. So we did that at first, and so i
So,
i, I
Michelle,
stayed
let
on
me
that
ask
for a
you
while.
real quick. Let me ask you
Yeah.
real quick. If this is so important because when in many disease states, if you don't fortify the body first,
Right. Right.
it can't handle the process of
Yes.
healing,
Yes.
right? And that's
Absolutely.
where a lot of people don't get the same results because
Right.
they skip that step.
Right.
They think they can do it just by eating whatever's out there, and you
Right.
can't. You need
No.
therapeutic levels. You need to get these things assimilated into your body, and then it can handle the process of healing. So that's a very
Exactly.
important step.
It really is, because people want a quick fix sometimes, but
Yes.
this is like peeling back those layers of an onion. You got to do it a little bit slowly, or else you're going to feel really sick. I mean, I think if we didn't do it in that way, Tracy was completely right about it, because I would have been even sicker. And then you can't do the protocol, and you just,
Right.
you're never getting better. So
Sure.
once we did that, it was probably 1 or 2 months. Then I was doing better. My levels and everything looked better. So we started to attack the bacteria, and I had some parasites, even, stomach parasites that started as along with that, and a lot of dormant viruses as well, because Lyme can also trigger your dormant viruses to come back up, and they wreak havoc at the same time. So now you're kind of double whammied with, we got the Lyme, and you can be also having co-infections of the Lyme, different infections that come along with the Lyme bacteria. There's so many different kinds of bacterias, that get in this bug that gets you. But I also had mono years before that, so I had underlying Epstein-Barr that popped up a lot.
Wow.
And that Lyme just triggered that. And it's still to this day, I think I get more triggered by that Epstein-Barr than the Lyme now, that I've gotten that more. But it's one of those things, you got to kind of look at the underlying things, and now we're gonna try to go in and attack those. So
Right.
I started a protocol where I would do the Nattican Plus. We would do that. I think I did that in between meals. And
Yes.
that is going to go in there because it's an enzyme, a proteolytic enzyme, and it's going to break that
Right.
biofilm down so that we can more aptly get to where the bacteria is hiding. So I would take that in between meals. And then I would do a protocol where I was still doing the good diet. I wasn't stopping this at all. I was doing all those good things, and I still kept on the minerals and the vitamins, but I added in the candy kill, and I added in, I believe at that point I added in the immune tincture from Nutritional Frontier. So I was doing those
Okay.
things.
Okay.
And we stayed on that. And I also was doing a detox protocol while I was at it. So I did use some things from Des Bio as well. They have a really good kit for complete detox that I had used. But I also,
And that's a homeopathic line?
It
Is that correct?
It
Yeah.
is. And they have a wonderful complete detox kit, and also kits that you can go and kill specific things. Lyme, there's one for Epstein-Barr, there's one for strep. They have all different kits like that, and they're all homeopathic. They take some time, but they do really, really work. But they can be hard on the body a little bit, if you're not prepared. So we went into a kit like that. And then after I was doing those, it would be like every 3 months or so, I'd switch things up. I would go from, instead of doing the complete detox kit from Des Bio, I would now go to the Pro Lean Greens, and the Power Cleanse from Nutritional Frontiers, because that's now supporting your liver, and you're getting, protein and in the shake there too, and you're getting all those good things, the chlorella and the spirulina and all the greens and all the good stuff. So it was really a good complete detox. So I switched from that, because you don't want to get used to anything. The Lyme's so tricky, they can start to learn what you're doing, so you gotta switch it up. So we switched that up, and then I took a
Nasty
break
little
on.
buggers,
Yeah,
aren't they?
they're
Wow.
nasty and they're smart. So I switched off even the candy kill and went to the microgon for a while, and then the immunomax. I kind of switched some of those things, because all of those products, they work together to keep your immune system boosted, because ultimately we want our immune system to be strong enough to fight this off itself. So we would do this protocol. I'd add in the lymph tincture if I needed some lymph support.
Right.
And to get my inflammation down at the beginning, I was taking, the X-Flame or the Inflam too, to be able to lower those inflammatory levels until I got to, a better spot with that. Added in a lot of good healthy fats to my diet, and started eating more proteins and, way less carbs. And the carbs that I did eat were like, small amounts of rice or quinoa, that's it. I was trying to really be good with the diet, and that really did help. But then, as we went with this, we just keep cycling. And at the same time, I would treat things if I was having other issues, like I still kept on the thyroid and the adrenals, because that was a long term I needed for a while. And when I had the brain fog, I went to Brain Boost, and that formula was amazing. I also added in some lion's mane, because that's really great for brain. The fish oils and things like that. All of those things, and the B vitamins help the brain. So I would add those kind of things in to help with brain, the cognitive stuff, because I was feeling very foggy brained and very hard to concentrate. And then,
Have you moved into the SPM yet?
you know, I had taken that, and I that's when I forgot. So I'm glad you reminded me. The SPMs are amazing. I mean, not only for lowering inflammation, but for all of those things, the brain health, muscles, and all of those kind of things. The SPM probably, like when I started this, the SPMs weren't out yet, so
I
I've
know.
I've
I
taken
know.
them a lot more recently.
Yes. Yeah. Me
But
too.
I hadn't taken them, so those would be a great one for people for sure, absolutely. Um, and energy, because people with Lyme are all ultimately super fatigued. They always say, "I'm so tired. I just," and they're so tired that, when you look into their face, you can see, the circles, and you can see when you look at their tongue, the quivering tongue, because it's like their adrenals and their nervous system is so, it's just overworked and overstressed. So the Adrenamax helped me a lot with the adrenals, but I also needed to add in something, either the DMG chewables, the Enter DMG. It's amazing, because that'll oxygenate your body as well, which also helps get rid of those little buggers. But you're
Yep.
getting that good energy, that good cellular energy, that it's creating
Yeah.
that ATP. But also the power fuel. I mean, that was one of my lifesavers for a while, was just, drinking a scoop of power fuel every morning or twice a day if I had to, because it does have DMG in it, and
Yeah.
rhodiola, and all the amino acids and the good stuff there to kind of get you going, and rebuilding that cellular
Hmm.
energy. And then I would switch out and I'd go to Pro Oranges, because the Pro Oranges, that, but balances the blood sugar, gives you energy as well. So I wouldn't get
Yeah.
used to
Yeah.
things. I just kept switching out, but I always needed something for the energy. So you got to, like, until you're really good, sometimes you got to treat all the things with something, just to get yourself till you're back, to
Mhm.
to some normal energy levels. So that was real important for me as well, to do that, to make sure we had the energy. And even when I had my vision issues, I would take the 2020 formula. So, I mean, Nutritional Frontiers really had a formula for everything I needed. And that's where I got started with Nutritional Frontiers. And I loved it so much that I made, when I started working at Everything Natural, I said to Brenda, "Oh my gosh, you have to do this. Can you get this in your store?" So we worked on that, and we've been expanding our product line at Everything Natural now.
Who is your sales rep from Nutritional
Oh, it's
Frontier?
Mikey G.
Mikey G. Mikey G. Come and say hi to Michelle. He's
He's the
here.
best. I always look forward to my
All
visits
the
with Mike.
time. You know that. Say hi to Michelle. Hey, G.
What's going on,
Hey,
girl?
Mike, how are you?
How are you?
Good. I miss you. I know
Good.
you're coming up to visit soon,
Soon.
sometime.
Next
Yeah,
week.
that's
Get
awesome.
ready.
I'm very excited. You always have new information for us.
Awesome. I'm glad you're feeling well. Looking
Yeah.
good.
Yes, thank
All right.
you.
Cool.
Yeah, it's
I've been
it's been
I've
good.
been
We've been
I've been
having a
listening.
great chat about this. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, great
All right. Well, I'll
information.
let you guys go.
All
I'll
right,
see
G.
you.
Thanks, buddy.
Don't want
Bye,
to
Mike.
interrupt.
But yeah, so I mean, I feel like that kind of protocol, and even to sometimes when you're killing off this bacteria, you need to even add in a binder of some sort, like activated charcoal,
Mm,
something like that. To You
mm.
don't want to get too toxic and not get these
You want to
these.
make sure it gets out of the body, right? I
Yeah,
mean, these things
yeah.
attach and pull it out.
They do. They attach and they pull it out. So activated charcoal, that was a big deal for me, for when I was really killing off the bacteria. Because if you don't, you'll get a lot of flu-like symptoms if if that dead bacteria is kind of still hanging about, in the body. You need to kind of pull that out. So that was
Mm.
great. And then that brings me to the fact that people really need to detox as well, and do other things to detox out while you're trying to get this stuff out of your body. So if you do all these things but you don't detox, or you don't try to bind it and pull things out, you can start to still feel sick, even though it's doing its job and it's trying to kill it off. Your body's stuck in this healing crisis, because
Yes.
it's just stuck with all
Yeah.
these things in there.
It's still
So
in your body. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
It's
you got to
still in your
clean it. You got to clean it out and cleanse it out. So I always recommend things like Epsom salt baths. They're
body.
amazing for muscle pain and for pulling out, toxins. They
Uh-huh.
relax your nervous system too. So they really help. Dry brushing is amazing, to do before you get in the bath, to try to get that lymph moving. So I recommend that to a lot of my clients. And vibration plates, like we have a power plate at the store, at Everything
Hmm.
Natural. We getting on there, that really stimulates the lymph and helps getting things moving
Yeah.
around. So
Yeah.
that's really good. And even, I mean, people are so tired, so it's hard for them to exercise, but anything you can do to build a sweat, even if it's just walking, really getting a sweat going to help you sweat out these
Well, did
toxins
you
is
ever
great.
use a sauna as well?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That was really one of my main things. I was going to say that next. The infrared saunas were essential for me,
Yes.
and
Yes.
we have those services at Everything Natural too. So
Okay.
people, I always tell them, come on in. I'll even let you use it for free the first time to try it out so you see, because some people with Lyme are really hesitant about heat because they feel so crappy. They're like, I don't know if I'm
Yeah.
going to want to be in this, but I'll like try it for free so you can see. Once you get used to it, and you can start slow, but once you start to sweat and feel how good that sauna makes you feel, getting those toxins out and helping your
Hmm.
muscles, and all those kind of things, you'll be sold on that. You're going to love it.
I do. Yeah, I have one of those portable saunas.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, that's so cool. I've had it about 7 years now, and it works like a charm, like it did the first day. It's far infrared,
Right?
and it comes up to your neck. You zip it up, and you can move it to anywhere in the house. It's really
Yeah.
portable. It really is. But I can always tell when I'm
Mhm.
a little more toxic, okay,
Right.
and when I'm not, because it's
Right.
on how long it takes you to get to that good sweat.
Yes.
If I get to it
Yes.
real quick, I said, "Oh, I know. Oh boy, I'm a little toxic here."
Right.
But if it
Right.
takes me 20, 25 minutes to get to that sweat, then I know I'm
Yeah.
not, there's not as many toxins that need to come out, but I still stay in it till, 30 minutes.
Right.
But
I mean, it's a great thing
now
to
let me
do.
ask you about yours. When you have people come in, because
Mhm.
we thought about incorporating it here at the Wellness Center.
Yeah.
You have showers, or what do they do? Do they just towel off, or how do you
Yeah,
do it?
well, I'll tell you how we do it. We do not have showers because with our store, it's a little limited in space. We have,
Okay.
Everything Natural, and I'm not sure if you've been there, Joe, but
No, I haven't.
it's a big supplement store, but it's not super huge in size. So the front of the store is all, foods and nutrition and herbs and
Okay.
supplements and things like that. We have the small section in the back of the store that Brenda added about 3 years ago, because our store has been there 25 years. But the
What's the address?
purified
Tell everybody what the address is again.
it's 3415 Pleasant Valley Boulevard in Altoona, Pennsylvania. So it's
Okay.
16602 there. But it's been there 25 years, but Brenda added this Purify You part in the back of the store about 3 years ago. And
Okay.
this was something she started back in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, where she's living now. And she wanted to carry it on to us. And we tried to figure a way, how are we going to fit it in our store because we're running out of room. So
Yeah.
we don't have a lot of room for a lot of stuff back there. But what we do have is there's room for one salt booth, and it's a salt booth that's a concentrated salt booth. So the halo generator that's in the salt booth is as big as it would be in a whole salt room, a whole salt cave.
Mm,
So you only need 10 minutes of this service to be as good as a 45-minute session in a normal larger salt cave or salt room. So, the
okay.
salt room helps with all kinds of stuff, skin conditions, rashes, allergies, asthma, fatigue, things like that. But you can sit in there for 10 minutes. We have one of those, and then we have a red light therapy booth, just one of those in our store. But that's amazing too, because it's the infrared heat and the red light together in two panels that you stand between, and that's another 10-minute service. But that really concentrates on, muscle pain, joint pain,
Mm,
things like that are glandular issues, thyroid,
mm-hmm.
autoimmune illnesses, because it raises your
Yep.
collagen level,
Yep.
and anything that has that infrared heat is going to raise your core body temperature and stimulate that
Mm-hmm.
immune system. So, if you come there and do all the services, you're getting a full body like detox.
Yeah.
Then we have two of the infrared saunas. So they're amazing, and you get really sweaty in there. They're 35-minute sessions. We have the chromotherapy lights in there too. But
Mm.
what we do, since we don't have showers, we make these little special shots. They're healthy shots to drink. One's to stimulate the sweat and boost your
Uh-huh.
metabolism. The other one's when you come out, that has some activated charcoal and some minerals and things in it to detox out. But we give you a
Yep.
peppermint cooling towel, a wet peppermint cooling towel that you can
Huh.
cool off with, and refresh, and all the water's in there to drink. So, it's not the place of a shower, but at least they can get, kind of get the sweat off before they
Gotcha.
leave and
Yeah.
smell a little better
Yeah.
like peppermint. but but yeah, we had
Yeah.
all
That's
that, and
good.
then we had
Okay.
a power plate there too. So in between those sessions, they can jump on there and get some of that vibration that helps build the core, helps with the lymph and balance,
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
flexibility too as well. So we have all of those services, and that seems to be very helpful for the people that have Lyme or even just want to detox or lose weight.
Okay. Hmm. So, Michelle, as we're going to start winding it down here,
Right.
I know this has been a ton of information, but let's. How do you want to finish up? I mean, how many people are you helping now? And I mean, What's some of the testimonials you've gotten for your treatments and your protocols for Lyme? Um,
Right.
how successful has it been?
It seems pretty successful. I mean, I just started to see people within the last 2 years that I've only been
Hmm.
seeing clients that long. It's definitely growing, and I can tell word of mouth is spreading. And uh, this by people coming into store, it's always easy because I meet people there, and they'll get an appointment. But Tracy even will say, "I'll go, go see Michelle. I'm a little booked," or things like that. And Brenda does the same thing, so it's helpful to get me. It's been helpful to get me started. But the people that I'm seeing, I usually have them check in with me in about 2 weeks. And I'm
Okay.
hearing really good, positive things from them, saying, "Oh, wow, it's only been 2 weeks. I can't believe that this is helping already." And I had a woman, especially, that she had been a breast cancer survivor 12 years, and she had some underlying issues with what we thought could be Lyme. It wasn't showing up super big, but she had been bit in the past, and she was a breast cancer survivor, but she was not feeling well. She was gaining weight. She thought she might have some thyroid issues, but the doctors were telling her the thyroid was not that bad. I mean, she had nodules though. They did know
Mm.
that, but she wasn't on really anything so much to help that. She was getting night sweats every night and was just feeling kind of tired and not that great. So when she came to see me and I started asking questions, I come to find that she was taking estrogen and she had an estrogen based breast cancer before, and so I questioned
Oh.
that, and I said, listen, I can't treat or diagnose or cure, but I think you should question that maybe, because I muscle response tested her for it and she was very weak. I said, listen, I just think that that's something your body is causing you to maybe have more of the hot flashes. And I think your thyroid needs balanced. And if we get some of these things in order and do some of this stuff, this underlying Lyme might start to go away. And I think that's part of the
Hmm.
issue. And that could even
Hmm.
be an issue to start with cancer, to be honest. Lyme can
Hmm.
cause a lot of problems. So she did this protocol I gave
Well,
her.
when it attacks your immune system, and your immune system is then susceptible to something
Right.
else happening. Right.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'll tell you, 2 weeks she called me. And I was so thrilled because I love hearing these good results. It just makes me feel so grateful that I can help people like that. But she called and said, Michelle, I just had to tell you, I have been taking this just only for 2 weeks. My night sweats and hot flashes have stopped. And I've had them
Yeah.
for 12 years. She said the
Huh.
nodule on my thyroid is shrinking. I can feel it
Mm.
shrinking. She said, I've lost 5 pounds in just 2 weeks so far, and she said, I have more energy and I'm feeling real well. And I was like, that's amazing. Like, that's super great. So she stayed on the protocol and it's now been like 4 months in and she's lost like 20 pounds. She was so thrilled because that was what she wanted, and her thyroid nodule is really good. Like, it's down. She went to get her thyroid levels checked. They're great. She's not having these night sweats. She's sleeping better. She has more energy. So, I feel like when you hear these people telling you repeatedly, thank you. I really appreciate everything you've done. This is really helping me. And I've been to so many doctors that missed these things, so I feel like that's a really good testament for trying to get the body to heal in the way that it's meant to heal. It's just kind of pushing it
Exactly.
in the right direction. Yeah.
Yes. The body does all the healing, right?
Yep.
You have to give it the fuel, give it what it needs, and it'll do all the healing. We don't heal anybody. No one heals anyone else.
Nope.
Your body does all that.
Your body does, and God made it perfectly. You know, God made it perfectly to do that. We just gotta, follow those guidelines and follow the body and what it wants to do to heal.
Are
So
you coming? Are you coming to the April 9th?
I will be there. Yes, I'm looking.
Great. Good.
Yes.
Looking forward to seeing you there. That'll be great. It's been a while. It's been too long.
Yeah, it has.
Maybe I'll ride out to Altoona with Mikey G one of these days.
You really should. It would be good to
Yeah.
show you around the store. It's there's not a whole lot in Altoona, but we do have some cool stuff.
Yeah, I think that's probably the only reason I would go to Altoona is to come see your place. Yeah.
And I don't blame you. Yeah, I'll see you in Pittsburgh, if not in April. So I'm looking forward to that.
Okay, good. That's great. Okay, Michelle Lepore, tell everybody one more time your place, your contact information, website, phone number, the works. How can people get a hold of you?
Yes. So I'm Michelle Lepore. I work at Everything Natural Under the Sun in Altoona, Pennsylvania. Our phone number at the store is 814-943-6330. It's located at 3415 Pleasant Valley Boulevard in Altoona, Pennsylvania. And if you would like to get a hold of me, I'm on Facebook, Michelle Lepore, or my email is mal181@hotmail.com.
Great. Yes, she's on there. I see her all the time on Facebook. We are fighting a lot of the same battles on there.
Yes, we are, Joe. We got to stick together.
You've been in Facebook jail lately?
Not lately.
Not
I've been good lately.
Yeah, I got out a little while ago, so I got to stir some things up.
Right.
Well, this was great. So good to have you. We'd love to have you come back again in May.
Sure.
Do another presentation if you like, and maybe we can get you to come in person and do it in person next time.
Yeah, that would be amazing. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here today. So thank you so much.
It's our pleasure. Great to see you. Thank you so much. Folks, Michelle Lepore, and we'll be back in about 8 minutes with Dr. Kathleen Hartford. So we'll see you soon. Thanks, Michelle.
See you soon.
Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot.